What is up, guys? This is my first podcast going, so pretty excited. I mean, I've been working on getting everything set up for like the last 2 hours, so hopefully this turns out halfway decent, but we'll see. I mean, this is episode one of the Plains Perspective podcast, and I realized that when I was with my friends, I would just try to talk about Auburn athletics half the time. And I mean, we're 21 years old and no one really cares as much as me. So I would just kind of be talking to nobody. But so I thought if I'm going to talk to nobody, might as well talk to nobody in a mic. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But yeah, this is episode one. I mean, I'm excited to get after it. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, but life gets busy and whatnot. And I was like, I've got Tuesdays and Thursdays are pretty light for me, so we're gonna get it going and see what happens. So this probably will have 0 views, but still the same amount of views I had yesterday, so it's okay. But yeah, so today I was gonna kind of break down our running back room a little bit because the past few years we've had good running back rooms, but under the last regime with Hugh, he was stubborn. He wanted to pass the ball no matter what. He did not want to put the ball on the ground. I mean, he did it against Baylor, and in his post-game interview, he was like, "Yeah, that was difficult for me. I really didn't want to do that." and then he learned he couldn't do it consistently, and that at the end of the day, that kind of cost him his job. That and not being able to score points. So, yeah. But this year, we have a room that's deep, and I think it's the best room we've had since Tank and Jerquez, just from a depth standpoint. And 1A, 1B are basically 2,000-yard rushers. I mean, Jeremiah was 60 yards off last year, and that's in an offense who didn't want to run the ball. So imagine him in an offense where you do want to run the ball. And Alex Golish has been pretty consistently high on that. I mean, in every press conference I've watched, he's stated, and quote unquote, we're going to run the piss out of the ball. Now, I'm not quite sure what he statistically what he means by that, but I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more than last year and the previous year. I mean, Jarquez Hunter, one of the all-time, like statistically, one of the all-time greatest running backs to come through Auburn, which is, you got to think you're with Bo Jackson, Tank Bigsby, Kerryon Johnson, Cameron Artis-Payne, Trey Mason. It's a good group of guys that he's competing against, and he was consistently at the top, being under a guy who did not want to run the ball. And so when you're under a guy who doesn't want to run the ball and you're still statistically one of the greatest running backs to go through Auburn, you got to think that given the chance to be in an offense who actually runs the ball, it'll work out for him. And he's been committed to the program, especially nowadays. I mean, you got to think the transfer portal. I mean, Lord, half our team from last year's gone, probably more than that. I think it was like 36 or something like that transferred out. And, obviously with the culture aspect of it, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but it's not that big of a loss. I mean, it's a loss. Like, Cam Coleman was a loss, and, there's a few others. But as a group, I think the way our program had been built the last 3 years, it completely needed a culture reset. And I think some of those guys, Coach Golish, just thought they didn't fit what Auburn wanted to do. And, his periodic table, it says FE, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of the guy he is. And I think that's what we need. We need a hard head. We need someone who's willing to, do whatever it takes to win. And, Hugh was focused on chatting up with the boosters and not coaching. He would, give play calling duties and stuff like that to the coordinators, and then we'd go out there and he'd want to play call. He hadn't been in the rooms the whole week, and he wanted to go on there on game days and play. All right, I'm getting off topic about just bashing Hugh Freeze, which I probably shouldn't do because he was a nice guy and whatever. But Alex Golish is a lot different. He has a mindset where he doesn't care what the fans think. He doesn't care what the boosters thinks. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks. He cares what him and the players want. And, in this league, that's what it needs. That's what you need to do. And, we haven't had a coach like that since Tuberville. And, Malzahn, he was good, but he didn't have that mindset. And even in his later years, I think he was basically done anyways, but he got a hefty buyout, so good for him. But yeah, anyways, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to break down each person in this running back room and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on where they're at in the depth chart and where they're coming up from and whatnot, where they transferred from and whatnot. But yeah, so let's dig into it. So obviously, with Jeremiah Cobb, I mentioned earlier his loyalty. He's been here since his freshman year. So his freshman year, he rushed for 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so, funny story actually. We're the same age. I'm a junior here at Auburn, and I was at the first game of my college career, and it was against UMass, and he broke free for like a 47-yard touchdown, and I was like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. And I would get on these other podcasts, and I'd see people being like, oh, like we need to bring in a different guy, blah 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 blah. And every time the portal opened, the first person people would talk about would be Jeremiah Cobb. He's got to leave. I mean, this situation just isn't benefiting him anymore. And he stayed loyal because he doesn't only, love our football program. He loves Auburn in general. And I think that's the culture kind of Alex Golich is trying to build, is where it's not about your football program. It's about the university itself. And, trying to be the best you can be, not only for yourself, but for the team. And that's just kind of the player he is. And, so retaining him was such a big deal. And I think he's really due for a breakout season. And, under an offense who wants to run the ball, it's such a great opportunity for him. And, no one deserves it more than he does. He stuck through the bad times, and hopefully he's here for the good times. But we'll see. But yeah. So last year he rushed for 969 yards and 5 touchdowns. He kind of had a sophomore slump his sophomore year. He had 142 yards, no touchdowns, but he's behind. He was behind Jarquez and Damari, and he's running back 3. Normally the running back 3 isn't even going to get that many touches. But he kind of made do with what he had. Another funny story, my freshman year, I was at the Vanderbilt game. We actually beat them that year. And I swear, he would only come in the game and score touchdowns, which he only had 2, but I was there for both of them, which is funny. But he, a little jet sweep action, and he scored. I was like, I don't understand why he's not on the field more. But Jarquez and Damari were in front of him, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah, but he rushed for 969, 5 touchdowns this last season. The whole debacle with Damari happened, and he was given the running back 1 spot. The only thing that and this is where the depth piece comes in, because Jeremiah Cobb, he is such a talented runner. He's such he can find any gap there is, but the man cannot pass block to save his life. I mean, Lord have mercy. I'm trying to think. I mean, I can't even think of another running back the man just gets run over every time, but he's such a talented runner, so it's okay. But that's another thing. When Damari left, Jeremiah was there, and Omar Mapson, he was a true freshman from Auburn High School, and he had to come to the game because Damari was gone. Darrell Robertson had that freak accident with his leg, and so since Jeremiah can't pass block, Omar's in the game against I think it was Alabama or something like that, and he's getting destroyed too. But it's all about with Omar, it's he's a true freshman going against 5-star linemen, and so when he was out there, he did the best he could. But at the end of the day, he hadn't been in the weight room enough to be in that situation. And everyone was hurt. I mean, Darrell was out, Damari was gone. I mean, we had a walk-on. We had a walk-on who was given a scholarship, kind of like those give me scholarships, where it's not like you're going to play because you're on scholarship. It's more of a you've been a true walk-on who's helped us out, and so we're going to give you a scholarship guy, Justin Jones, who was in that position, and he was getting playing time against actual opponents, and that was insane to me. Thinking that we went into the season, it was Damari, Jeremiah, Darrell, Omar, Alvin, I guess not. I guess Omar, Justin, Alvin, and we fell to where Justin Jones was our 2-back because Jeremiah got hurt a little bit and Omar had to play. And if no hate to Justin Jones. I mean, he's probably a great guy, but at the end of the day, he's a guy who was given a walk on. He was given a scholarship because of his what he did on the walk on team, not because he was highly rated at high school or anything like that. Um, but yeah, that's where the depth piece comes in. And I'm thinking preseason, we're not going to have to go that deep in the room. I mean, you've got Demore and Jeremiah. That's a and after the Baylor game, everyone's hopes are so high. We're like, oh, we're going to run the ball this year. We're going to run the ball this year. And it just never clicked again. Not really. I mean, Jeremiah had 153 against Arkansas, and that was his best game of the season. And Lord, our starting quarterback, got benched at halftime. That's how bad it was. And they were like, we're gonna have to run the ball if we can't throw the ball. But so depth is such an important piece this year. And Jeremiah, and I'm sure he's going to work on it this offseason because it was such a glaring detail. Like, I'm not even pay attention to how well the running back blocks. I'm more looking at skill positions, whatnot. But even I was out there and I was like, this man's getting run over every possession, and so I was like, something needs to change. But that's why we have this year, and I'm sure he's going to work on it on the offseason because I mean every other aspect of his game is great. I mean, the man can catch, the man can juke, the man can run. I mean, the man can do anything. So I'm sure he's going to be working on it this past season. But the next guy we're going to talk about, who is, I've been listening to podcasts and they're like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to have Bryson or Nakai. I don't know who's going to be that second guy. First of all, there's no conversation there. It's going to be Jeremiah 1, Bryson 1B. And people who think that Nakai is even in a position to even be running back 2, I mean, that says a lot about him. That's no hate towards him. That's just how talented this room is. Where someone as talented as Bryson Washington, for example, 2024, his sophomore year, he had 1,028 yards, 12 touchdowns as a sophomore. His junior year, 788 yards, 6 touchdowns, but he was a little injury prone last year, and he still had 6 touchdowns. I mean, the man is a tank. He really is, and it's kind of that when I say 1A, 1B, Jeremiah will probably get. And we kind of saw this last year. He struggled with injuries a little bit, and like I said, that's how Justin Jones ended up getting PT. But Bryson, he's a little different. He's built like a bowling ball. You know what I mean? They posted a video of like this Valentine's Day video, and he was on there, and it was like, what's your Valentine, or whatever, and they're all saying their mom and whatnot. And Bryson gets up there and he's like, oh, I'm Bryson. The man looks like a bowling ball. I mean, it is insane. I don't understand how people tackle him to begin with. And, whenever they got when they have Jeremiah Cobb, that 1-2 punch, I mean, Jeremiah Cobb will, outrun you any day of the week, but he's not really the, bruiser type. Bryson Washington, I mean, the man, he's on a different level. You can kind of see that in some of the film you watch with him. Yeah, but that 1A, 1B punch is going to, kill. I mean, whenever you have a bruiser, and, a lot of the running backs in this room are a lot different. And, when you have that kind of diversity, it's big. It's big because, I keep going back to last year, but, it was a worst case scenario. And so whenever that's the freshest on your mind, that's kind of what goes through your head is this is going to happen again. And so, I mean, I'm glad Coach Golish, he went out there and he got some guys who no matter who gets hurt, no matter what happens, I mean, we have a group of guys who are ready to play. And so, that 1A, 1B punch is going to be huge. And I think, Jeremiah dealt with a few injuries. And so having him off a little bit, having someone who's not a true freshman or a walk-on come in behind him is going to be a huge, huge deal. And, with his offense, they like to go fast. And, the faster you go, the more tired you get. And so having that alternative running back duo was going to be huge. And, as a sophomore, 1,000-yard rusher, it's insane to me. And then you have another 1,000-yard rusher in Jeremiah Cobb. So, it's going to be a fun year if, Coach Golish does what he says he's going to do and run the piss out of the ball. It's going to be very, very difficult to come over that. And, tackle these guys. But yeah, so that's 1A, 1B. But if I had to put in a depth chart, I'd go with Jeremiah Cobb. He's going to be on the jumbotron doing whatever. Lord, I think I might have him as a captain. I mean, all he's been through and everything he's went through. But and then I'll have Bryson Washington number 2. But I don't think the carries are going to be as much as wide as some people think they are. But going back to it, a lot of, and then last year again with the fall off, he went from 1,028 to 788. He dealt with injuries, but at the same time, they had a top 5 quarterback in the country in Sawyer Robertson last year. He came from Baylor, by the way, who we played the first game this year as well in Atlanta. But they had a lethal passing attack. I mean, you saw it against Auburn, and Auburn ended up. I mean, that was the stress on a lot of people. I mean, I think we put up 42 points, but we gave up like 28 or something like that. It was and after the game, everyone was talking about, oh man, this defense is going to struggle. We're going to have to back it up and whatnot. And it ended up being the strong point of our team. And so if they're doing that like a lethal defense against Auburn, imagine what they were doing in their conference. So yeah, so a lot of that had to do with injuries and then them just relying on the passing attack over and over again because he could air it out. Sawyer Robinson, I wouldn't mind him last year. I mean, he was great. But then number 3 on the depth chart for me at least will be Nakai Davenport. So this is a guy who followed Coach Golish from USF, and a lot of people we did get quite a few people from USF, and they had another guy, Isaac, who didn't end up coming over, but he was talented. I mean, Nakai is talented. He, as a true freshman, he put up 612 yards and 7 touchdowns. And some people are like, oh, like he'll get the nod over Bryson because he's used the system and blah, 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 blah. Brother, you cannot teach what Bryson does. That's pure strength and athleticism. I mean, that man's, like I said, he's a bowling ball, but coming at you full speed down the lane. You know what I mean? Like bouncing off bumpers and whatnot. But Nakai, he's good. And he's young. He's so young. And I guess people have this expectation because he came with this coach that this coach is going to give special treatment. And honestly, that's just not how Coach Golish does things. I don't think. Maybe under the last regime, it's like, we're paying you this much. You got to play this much. And I don't care what you do on the field. Xavier Chaplin, good example. The man was making, 1.8 or whatever it was. And he was our worst offensive lineman last year. But you can't take him off the field because the person that paid him $1.8 million, they're going to be, pissed off if their investment gets taken off the field, and so you're gonna have to live with it a little bit. Coach Golish doesn't play like that. He's not gonna play favorites. He's gonna, do what's best for the team. And Nakai Davenport, he, like I said, he's young. 612 yards, 7 touchdowns last year. But here's what kind of stood out to me. I mean, he had -2 yards against Miami. I mean, he had. Let's see how many carries. I think he had like 16 carries against Miami, and he had negative rushing yards. Let's see here. He had. Okay, never mind. I lied completely. He had 2 carries for -2 yards. But I think if he probably got in the game, ran the ball once, got taken out. It was like, oh, like put me back in, and then did the same thing. And Coach Golish was like, yeah, he's probably not ready for this yet, which is okay. Like I said, he's young. He's a true freshman. I mean, but yeah, he's, he'll be good in the future if he sticks around and develops. Like I said, but he's number 3 in this running back, and if he needs to play, he'll be good. You know what I mean? It's not like a walk-on situation. If he needs to play, he'll play, and he'll play well. I'm not worried about that. But, 612, like I said, 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. He had more touchdowns than Jeremiah Cobb last year. But then again, we didn't score a lot of touchdowns now did we? Yeah, but I think he'll be number 3. And, I said back to the favoritism thing. I put him at number 3, not because I think he'll play favorites, but because he knows the system. And that's important in this offense. The way how fast they go, the faster they go, the more the system you need to know. So, yeah. So, the 1, I've got Jeremiah Cobb. At the 2, I've got Bryson Washington. At the 3, I've got Nakai Davenport. And then at the 4, I've got Tay Meadows. He was, which another guy, he's a guy who this is the last year of eligibility, and he's coming to play at Auburn when he probably won't get PT. And he came from Troy, so he's a hometown guy. And last year he put up 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, he put 76 up against Clemson, and that's impressive and whatnot. But I mean, with Jeremiah Cobb, Bryson Washington, I could definitely see Tay beating out Nakai if it comes down to it. He's definitely has that talent. And like I said, I mean, the last couple of years, our room hasn't been able to stay healthy. And so it's kind of like an assumption that we're going to fall that deep into the room anyways. But yeah, I mean, like I said, 695, 6 touchdowns, not much to go on him. I mean, he came from Troy. I don't think we'll get much PT, but like I said, he just makes that depth in the room that much more dangerous. Yeah, but that's all I got on him. I mean, but I could definitely see him coming in at the three, and we'll see how many running backs Coach Golish uses this year, because he stated, he was like, when I went from Tennessee to USF, he said I had to change offenses, and then or UCF to Tennessee, they had to change offenses, and then Tennessee to USF, they had to change offenses, and then USF to Auburn. He changes his offense based on the competition that they play, which I love to hear that, because a lot of people see the record and it was like 6-7, 6-7, 9-3, and they're like, oh, like he went 22-15 in whatever amount of years or whatever. But here's the thing. He took over a team who won like 3 games in 3 years. You can't just turn that program around. Well, he did, but it takes a lot more. I mean, he basically had to start fresh with that program, and so him coming to Auburn after starting fresh with that program is I see a light at the end of the tunnel almost, because we've been searching the tunnel in the dark, just praying for a light to open from the sky. You know what I mean? But this position he has us in, we're in the tunnel, but there's a light down there, and it's the first time I've had hope. Which I'm a delusional Auburn fan, so Lord, half the games I think we're gonna win, but in my heart of heart, I know we're not. So it's nice to have that back. But yeah, I've got Tay at the 4, Nakai at the 3. But I could definitely see Tay winning that spot if it comes down to it, and he just sees something in him. And then the guy at the 5. And here's the thing, Nakai, Tay, and Omar Mapson's at the 5. He's he was here last year. He's a true or is he a true sophomore? He might be a redshirt sophomore or redshirt freshman this upcoming year. Kid's talented. Kid is super talented. He reclassified, so he's a year younger than he's supposed to be, and I could see him winning the 3 spot. And that's what builds great teams, is competition. It's so hard to create competition in this day and age, because everyone wants this amount of money, or they want to go, or they want to be required this amount of PT. It's so rare to have competition. I feel like the last few years we haven't had it. I mean, we haven't had a competition battle. Wide receiver, kinda, but like other than that, a true competition battle, even for like the deeper positions. But like Nakai, Tay, and Omar, I could genuinely see any 3 of them working the way up the depth chart. It won't surprise me, and that's such a thing that we undervalue nowadays, is competition. And it's so cliche, but it's so true. It's the iron sharpens iron, and so, hopefully that ends up working out. And, in a couple of years, we have a room who's still, which, I say that now, but, some of these guys, Nakai or Omar could leave next year, go to the portal or whatnot. But, if they stick around and they build a room who's, relies on each other to get better. If you bring your best, I'll bring my best. And then you create that competition, and then, you're getting better and better. And then at the 5, the last guy on the depth chart is, and I could see him moving up, in front of somebody else, but he didn't play at all last year, so we don't know anything about it. Is Alvin Henderson. He redshirted last year, but this is a guy with an incredibly high ceiling. He came from Elba, Alabama, which, if you don't know, is a 1A, and he killed naturally, because he's a forced. He was a top 15 running back according to 247 in the 2024 class, or 2025 class. I don't know. He was a redshirt this last year, so whatever that is. But he has such an incredibly high ceiling. But whenever you're so used to, and you see this in basketball too. I mean, you got guys coming from smaller programs and killing at their level. But Elba is not Auburn, and so when he got here, it's kind of it was kind of eye opening, a little bit for him to learn schemes and learn that you can't just bully everybody here. He was faster, he was stronger, he wasn't bigger because he's 5'9". He's not a tall kid, but he was stronger and faster than everybody else and at his level, and so that was so easy for him to dominate. And so when he got to Auburn, I think he thought it would translate so fast. And what I've heard is he took it well though. He understood that he was not where he was at, and it's hard to get that through some of these talented kids. I mean, this is a top 15 running back in the country. He at the high school level. I mean, he's been told he's the greatest his whole life. And so being in a situation like that is it's pretty neat. And there's one play. It was the last game of the season, and he finally, or no, it was against Mercer because Deuce Knight was playing, and he finally got some PT, and I'm talking about he took off making a block. He didn't have the ball. He was making a block. And since then, I'm a big supporter of his. If he ended up being number 3 on the depth chart, I wouldn't be surprised because he has that hustle, and this new staff likes him a lot, and I think they believe in him a lot, and that's big. Belief's huge nowadays, and for a kid who didn't play last year and was highly touted, having a coaching staff who believes in you is a lot bigger than you think, because with that belief, he can build on it and become what we thought he'd be out of high school. And let's play. But not everyone comes in their freshman year and dominates. A lot of people, they have to develop, and that's kind of something we lost too in this day and age is development. No one wants to stay and develop, and so I'm really hoping he stays the next couple, because he could really be talented once he learns the scheme, and because he has the hustle for it, he has the talent. I mean, the kid's uber talented. I mean, you can't teach that speed, you can't teach that strength. I mean, a lot of it is just God-given talent, and if he puts that God-given talent with with his ability to read defenses and understand schemes and whatnot, it's going to be huge for him, and I'm really hoping that for him. But that is going to wrap us up for podcast number 1. I wanted to make it around 20 minutes, but I like to talk a lot, so it's got up here to about 28 minutes. So this is podcast number 1, and if you enjoyed, I hope you join us for another one on Thursday. You can find this podcast anywhere. It's the Plains Perspective Podcast. You can find it on TikTok, Instagram, X,